So, I wanted to continue on the healing ability right after the near-death experience, and this has really like helped me quite a bit in my own life, just talking about it, because I really haven't been able to talk about it to anyone. Um, the problem with talking about after having an in-death experience, near-death experience is another ball game altogether, because um, near-death experience can basically mean anything, right? But the in-death experience is can be mostly very traumatic. And especially if you experience this other world, the spiritual world of light and loving energy and whatever, it's very difficult to have a conversation like that. But anyways, I wanted to concentrate on the empathy and the healing abilities. And um, I had a in-depth experience when I was a small child, and I had another one as a teenager, and then I had my last one, which was very well. In itself, it wasn't very traumatic, but I felt that it was very traumatic. Actually, all my near-death experiences or in-death experiences have been very traumatic, very traumatic. I haven't really been able to talk about it with anyone. But anyways, there is that healing ability, and there is that empathy that goes along with it. And that's very important. Empathy and healing ability, as far as what I'm talking about, doesn't exist in this world. So it's not mainstream. It's very not so talked about, not so popular. And as a matter of fact, if you do talk about it, you'll probably be shunned, and you will meet with extreme prejudice from very stupid and immoral and unethical people. So there's a lot of ignorant and arrogant people out there. You'll meet a lot of them. Just walk outside your door, you'll probably meet at least a handful of them, a couple dozen per day probably. But that has nothing to do with what I'm trying to talk about. I'm trying to talk about the healing ability, and I've been able to heal the people that are closest to me. But I think that this healing ability is a natural phenomenon. It's a natural ability that happens after the near-death experience, because I think what happens is your mind goes through a reset button, and that's when I say reset button, I mean we're all born with this love and this light and this energy and this healing ability, and we're all born with it. We're born with it, but I think that the environment, the educational system, and the humans around us actually kind of stamp it out and replace it with ego and identity. I think they replace all this empathy, the extrasensory perception, and they replace all of that with ego and identity. That's what they replace it with. They take it out, they suck it out of people, and then they replace it. It's almost like a mosquito that sucks your blood and then replaces it with this itchy saliva material. I mean, that's how I would explain it. I think there's a lot of parasites in this world, mostly human beings. I would say a large proportion of the human beings on this planet are parasites. There's a lot of parasites in human beings as well. I mean, I would say 90% of the population of the world is infected with some sort of parasite, whether it be a pinworm or tapeworm or whatever worm you call it, or some sort of virus or bacteria, you name it. I would say 99% of the population of the world is infected with some sort of parasite. And I think the economy, the economic structure, the imperialistic economic structure of the world is parasitic in itself. It's really a it's a non-humanistic approach. I would say the educational system is parasitic. In the early 1900s, education was actually humanistic. It had a humanistic approach. That means it was very sensitive to our human nature, who we are, and then I think after the 1950s, it became corporatized and governmentalized. So the corporatocracy took over the educational system, and also the government took over the education. And that's when people got really screwed. But anyways, no big deal there. Um, so basically, healing ability. I really wanted to emphasize this because I do see the avian pandemic coming around the corner very, very soon here. It could come very slowly or it could come very quickly. Nevertheless, it'll be very, very nasty. Very, very nasty. Me and myself, I've got this big, huge sailboat, and it's stocked with all the supplies and everything ready to go. And there's an archipelago of islands up here in the Gulf Islands. There's hundreds of thousands of islands from here to Alaska. Hundreds of thousands of islands. Literally, I'm telling you, there are thousands of islands, uninhabited, pure fresh oxygen coming from pine trees. Can you believe that? These islands are filled with pure fresh oxygen coming from naturally occurring pine trees. They're surrounded by water. They're very hard to get to. You need to either have a boat or an airplane. So when the pandemic hits or whatever hits, I don't care what it is, whatever emergency hits, that's where you'll be safe. Now some of these islands have people in houses and islands and stuff like that, but they will probably be more safe than people in the cities because there will be quarantine. In the cities, lots and lots of people end up in big trouble because once this hits, they will be in quarantine. Roads will be shut down, airports will be shut down, everything, schools, hospitals, you name it, shut down. So everything needs to be done in a way where humans have to be self-sufficient. Key word there, self-sufficient, in a remote location, inaccessible by most people. So there's a lot of beautiful communities from here, Vancouver, all the way up to Alaska, actually. But I visited quite a few of these islands, and they are very, very beautiful. And I would say that's the best option. I also store a lot of food, and I have a lot of self-sufficiency as well. But I think basically, if there is an avian pandemic, which there will be, it's gonna look kind of nasty. It's definitely gonna look kind of nasty. I mean, we're gonna talk about zombies and parasites running around affecting everyone. It's gonna be nasty. There could be other emergencies as well, and most governments around the world is preparing for these emergencies. And I'm just telling you, it is going to happen. It's going to happen this year. The economy is going to do a dump, and I should basically go back to the healing ability. But anyways, gotta